For me, all I think about is karma. We are fully entering our karma era with or without Taylor. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Nina. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Nina. Nice to meet you. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. Good to see you again. Today, I am literally so excited to talk about this. I spent literally like 2 hours yesterday researching, finding pictures, all the little Easter eggs to piece together this conspiracy theory of Taylor Swift's scrapped album, Karma, The Lost Era. I will say this is one of my favorite Taylor Swift theories, and I originally was gonna talk about a bunch of different Taylor Swift theories, but I just kept going with this one. I was like, this deserves its own whole video because there's just so much here. So I just decided to lay it all out there, go through everything we know about Karma, the supposed lost album from Taylor Swift in the year of 2016. I've definitely dressed to the part. I know I have my Reputation shirt on. I feel like Karma is even more aggressive than Reputation. That's probably why they didn't let her put it out, because it was just like too aggressive, but I feel like I need it. I need the Karma era. Reputation comes off as super edgy, but actually most of the songs are like about Joe falling in love. I mean, there's like a couple songs there that are like very aggressive, but I feel like this album comes off more aggressive and edgy than it actually is, and I feel like Karma would be like the unfiltered version, uncut Reputation. Anyways, I'm just gonna get right into it, and we're just gonna go through all the things that I have found and that I've seen on the internet about this crazy conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift had an entire album she was supposed to come out with but ended up not putting out. So back in 2016, we were like waiting for an album. This was like the album cycle. Taylor Swift had put out an album every 2 years in the fall, like clockwork. You know, in the spring, we were like, okay, what's she gonna do? Each new era has kind of started with the Vogue photo shoot, and a lot of her new hairstyles she debuted in that photo shoot. Most notably, I think, was red. When she cut her bangs and had straight hair, everybody like freaked out because she was like at the tail end of the Speak Now era. I feel like every time she changes her hair, it kind of marks the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. And we have seen that for so many of the eras. First, the red with the bangs and the long straight hair, and then she chopped her hair for 1989, and then she had her short hair. This was kind of when Bleachella happened, and she changed her hair again, and she did this Vogue photo shoot where she completely bleached her hair, and everyone's like freaking out because like, oh my god, it didn't even look like her. I was like, no way, that can't be real. Looking through those Vogue photos, she had changed her profile picture. She always did that when she was starting a new era. And so we were just like, okay, this is it. She's going to be releasing a new album this year. Not what we were expecting, this like Bleachella kind of unhinged look, but you know, we're here for it. At first I was unsure, but then I was like, yeah, that looks good. I feel like a lot of people like to make fun of Bleachella, like what was she doing? She was going through it. You know, the easiest thing to change when your life is kind of out of your control is your hair. She really likes to change her hair to mark like a new beginning. I remember that year she only had one performance, and that was expected to be in the fall. And so people thought that was gonna be kind of like a kickoff of a new album, a new promo, anything like that. So she went to Coachella with her bleach blonde hair, and then 2016 was like a year for Taylor Swift and the Swifties. There's just so much drama. Her breaking up with Calvin Harris, the drama with the song This Is What You Came For, her writing under a pseudonym, and then later on taking credit for the song, whatever beef they had beginning of the year. And then we had the Grammys situation where Taylor Swift kind of shot back at Kanye for the line he wrote in his song about I made that famous. Everybody was on Taylor's side at first, and then, you know, the whole Kim Ye drama happened where they recorded the phone call, edited it to make it sound like Taylor Swift agreed to it, and then went back on her word, and everybody called her a snake. And I just remember that day, I was like sick to my stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, all these people are ganging up on Taylor. They just don't know the truth. And just people jumping on a bandwagon, because I feel like people just want an excuse to hate Taylor Swift sometimes because she's so successful and so good at what she does, they're just trying to look for something to cancel her for. I feel like during that time, it was just like everything was so shitty that she decided maybe she just needed to be out of the public eye for a while to let everything kind of blow over. But I'm sure she was just going through it, and the last thing on her mind was like, I need to put out an album. And so going back to Karma, the lost album, I think there's no way Taylor Swift didn't write songs between 1989 and when Reputation came out. That's like 3 whole years. She had always been writing the next album while she was in the previous era, and I think maybe she did take a break for a while, but there's no way she didn't like create something in that time frame. So it makes sense that there would be songs that are unreleased during that time, because I feel like when she went for Rep, she just like cut the losses and went straight into that era. I just feel like there's probably so much more we didn't get from her songs and lyrics that would have filled in the blanks of whatever happened in 2016. So I think that's why this theory makes the most sense to me. It's because it's like, it kind of makes sense there would be like songs that she didn't put on Reputation because it'd been 3 whole years since the last album. There's gotta be more than just what she put on Reputation. So let's move into the Easter eggs here. All the little things that led me to actually believe this theory, because I feel like over the years I've become way more skeptical because, you know, she started out with these Easter eggs kind of like, I don't know, during Red, I feel like was when she was actively like dropping these Easter eggs, and they used to be so obvious. And like even when she was doing the 1989 live stream release, she was posting lyrics and told everybody it was a pop album, and she would just like put the date and the time, and we wouldn't really have to do any other work. It was just like she told us what was happening. You know, as time goes on, she's obviously become so meticulous with these Easter eggs, and it's actually so fun. Half the time I'm too lazy, or I just like it goes straight over my head, but I love watching other Swifties kind of like dig deep and find these little things here and there. It's like when I try to like be a detective, I'm like, oh, I found something, and then I realize like I'm like weeks late to the party and people have already figured it out. But I think she started dropping these Easter eggs pretty quickly into Reputation. I don't think we realized this until much later, but Taylor Swift said in an interview, I think way later, about Look What You Made Me Do music video, that she had put Easter eggs in there that we still haven't gotten. I think that got people thinking like, what did we miss? Let's just go through this music video because I think there's a lot to break down here. But first of all, Look What You Made Me Do has a lyric that says, the world moves on another day, another drama, but not for me, not for me. All I think about is karma. So she says that word in the song, all I think about is karma. The most interesting part is that when she's singing that line, she is standing in the vault. We've come to learn that she thinks about her unreleased songs as being like locked up in a vault. So having her standing in the vault while saying those words, it's like, oh, it's still in the vault. Also, she has this visual of her in an orange outfit, kind of like a prisoner almost, in this big gold cage where she's just like hanging out in the cage. We'll get to this later, but orange is supposed to be like the color scheme of karma, so we're thinking like, oh, karma, this era, is like locked up in this cage with no way out. Moving on to the very last kind of scene, you see this, you know, all the 14 Taylors in front, the little skit, and you can see there's a Taylor in the back. And the interesting part is like that Taylor is not familiar. All the other Taylors in the front are like Taylors we are familiar with. We're like, oh, that's Fearless Taylor, that's BMA's Taylor, Red Taylor, all of them are there. And then you see the one in the back and you're like, that Taylor doesn't look familiar. She's spray painting over the side of this plane, Reputation. So it's like she's covering up this plane. On the tail of the plane, it says TS6. TS6 is technically Reputation, but the fact that she's spray painting over it seems like this was supposed to be a different album. TS6 was supposed to be something else that she's now covered with Reputation. And then that Taylor is seen chainsawing off the wings of the plane, grounding it. It's like she had to ground this album. It couldn't take flight. It couldn't be seen. Reputation is what is taking its place. When I saw this theory, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. what other reason would it be? That can't just be, oh, she just thought that would be funny to like saw off the wing. It doesn't make sense in any other context for me. So when I think about the reasoning why she might have had to scrap an album, I don't know if this is a decision she made where she said, my life is too crazy right now. I'm getting such bad publicity that I just want to go away for a while because I don't think it would be smart to put out an album that's named Karma, that's very aggressive and that could incite very bad responses. I don't know if that was her decision to be like, I need a break, or her record label's decision telling her she can't put it out, that they have to scrap the album, like because they controlled so much of what she did and that Reputation was her last album with that record label. It is just like wild to me that she was able to put these Easter eggs in here while she was still under the record label's control of kind of wanting to break free, and showing that her album had to be grounded because maybe the record label didn't want her to put that out because they just pushed back on so many decisions that she wanted to make, and every time she pushed back, she was successful. They didn't want her to make 1989 a pop album, and she did it anyways, and it was one of her most successful albums she's ever put out. So I don't know if it was a personal decision by her or if it would be because of her record label, maybe a little bit of both. But moving on from the Reputation era, we now enter into Lover, and going into this era, it's now a complete 180. She has left that record label. She has created an album that's much more positive, uplifting, just like all around good vibes from Lover. When you get to the Man music video, this is where more of those Easter eggs start to pop up, and this is what solidified it for me because I'm like, okay, it could exist. Like there could have been an album that didn't get put out, but this was like, I believe in this theory now, and that was from the Man music video. The scene where she's like peeing on the wall, all of the graffiti around her is all the albums she's ever had, and there's a sign that says, if missing, return to Taylor Swift. We've got all these albums, and the very center says Karma. Why would that be on there if that wasn't one of the albums? It's crazy. I'm gonna pull up my pictures to refer to them. Oh, it says, if found, please return to Taylor Swift, so not if missing. You know, we've got 1989, Reputation, and then we got Fearless, Red, Speak Now, and in the very middle, Karma, and then you see Karma again above that. So it's not on there once, but twice, and the second time it's in orange. That is supposedly the color of the era Karma was supposed to be. This is the most interesting part because Karma has nothing to do with the song at that point and everything to do with the visual. Why would that be on the wall with all of her other albums? You know, like why else? It just doesn't feel like a coincidence at this point. And the fact that it says, if found, return to Taylor Swift sounds like these are all stolen. Backing it up a little bit, I think this is one of like the smoking gun here. This really drives home the point, and this was in the 73 Questions with Vogue interview, and this was at the tail end of the 1989 era, so it kind of fits into the timeline in the right place because she didn't even bleach her hair yet. It sounds like she was probably trying to drop an Easter egg, a new era coming about, and they asked her, what is the most important life lesson someone can learn? And she looks straight at the camera and replies that karma is real, with like a smirk on her face. At this point, I'm thinking there's way too many coincidences for this not to have some truth to it. Now, returning to the Lover era in 2019, when she was going through this whole issue with the old record label and them selling her masters to Scooby Snack, just all the drama with that, where they wouldn't let her perform her greatest hits on TV, and you know, she wrote a thing and then she was allowed to or whatever, and then you know, when she showed up to sing, she was wearing that white dress shirt kind of dress thing that had all the albums on it. Of course, Karma wasn't on there, but when you bring the kids in, there was 8 little girl dancers, and people thought that that was supposed to be a symbol of like all her albums being like her kids, but at the time she only had 7 albums out because Lover was the 7th album, so people are like, there was 8 kids, so alluding to the fact that maybe there was 8 albums. Karma could have been that 8th kid, the 8th album. This brings us to our new era of Taylor re-recording all her music. I think for a while people were like, oh, okay, that's just like a lost era, era, but once Taylor Swift said she was going to be re-recording her albums and putting them out, I think that kind of opened the door for this album, this lost era, to maybe quite possibly come to light. As of right now, we've seen Taylor Swift re-record and release 2 of her old albums, so it really shows she's not afraid to go back and bring new life to songs that she has written in the past. She's not afraid to open up the vault and, you know, unleash everything that she's written before. To go through some other little Easter eggs that have been recent. So some people, I've seen this theory, some people think that going back to the Man music video with all the graffiti, Karma, the second Karma written in orange, is right next to 1989, which is written twice as well, and they're next to each other. Some people think that means that 1989 and Karma are going to be re-released as like a double album, like Taylor's version double album. And I think, well, that would be really cool. I don't know if I believe that. It's a good theory because they were both in kind of like the same timeline. I think it would be cool if Karma and Reputation were released together because I think they might have more similar of a vibe. I've also seen that people think in the Willow music video where she's trapped in a box that could also be something about the album, and she looks at the camera and says, "I come back stronger than a 90s trend." So it's like, I always come back stronger. Could be somehow related to that feeling of being trapped and not being able to, you know, do what she wants to do. And then on Jimmy Fallon, this was for the Red re-release era. She was on Jimmy Fallon talking about Easter eggs. They were just having a discussion about it, and she's like, it's just so fun for me how she got started with it. And she was like, you know, then it gets to the point that it's like, can I drop Easter eggs 3 years in advance? Like, can I do that? Like the planning that goes into it. And so that really got people thinking like, oh my gosh, is there Easter eggs from 3 years ago that we haven't gotten? Like the Man music video being like 3 years ago. And like, you know, I think when she set out to put out Lover, she did those interviews. They were like, are you planning on re-recording? And she's like, oh yeah. So I think she has been planning these re-records ever since she found out she couldn't buy them. And I think she's way smarter than we know. Such a smart businesswoman and artist. I think she has it all planned out. With Taylor Swift, it's like there is no coincidences. It feels like everything she does is for a reason. I think she totally knows what re-record's gonna be next, what's her plan. Like I think she has like the next few years completely planned out with what she's doing with the re-records. I think, you know, she's just kind of taking her time. She likes to surprise us, and I think we know what's coming next, and we always have all these theories, but like literally every single one of them has been wrong. And so now I totally take every single thing with a grain of salt. I'm like, that is a good theory, and it would be nice if it happened, but we've been burned too many times for me to start believing all these things. But I will say this theory is the most consistent, and I feel like it has the most concrete support for it. I would not be surprised if this was real. Every single Easter egg lines up. The orange, connections to her other albums, just the timeline, it all makes sense. And so I think that's everything I know, everything that I could find on the internet, TikTok, Tumblr, Reddit threads, just random articles. If you guys have anything else about Karma, please let me know in the comments, because this is one of my favorite theories to look at, and just one day I hope this comes to fruition. It reminds me of when we just like would talk about All Too Well 10-minute version all the time, like even way back in like 2014, 15, we're like, where's 10-minute All Too Well? You see it's buried in her house somewhere, like we'll come look for it for you, and like please put it out, not thinking ever that she would put out a 10-minute version of All Too Well. Like it is just like wild that it came from a joke way back when to like actually something that she did. And so that's why it would not surprise me if she revisited this album, songs that she wrote that got scrapped during her era where she just totally like hid from the public eye. Would not surprise me if this was real. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you guys think Karma is real? Because I am so ready to enter my Karma era. Like I dressed all edgy today, got my Reputation shirt on. I'm ready for the Karma era. And it also makes me wonder if it would be like a rock album, pop rock album, I don't know. Anyways, let me know all your thoughts and everything down below. Let's chat about it. And let me know if you guys want me to break down any other Taylor Swift theories. It's so fun for me, and I obviously could talk about it forever. And I just like love the way her mind works and how she makes it so fun for us to be fans. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I post new videos every Tuesday and Friday, so don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. And then the world moves on, but one thing's for sure. Maybe I got mine, but you'll all get yours.